All right, my friends. We just pressed the Let's Go Live button over here on our end, and you know what that means. We got to wait for those tubes to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. Got to make sure the stream has fired up, or else sometimes we do not connect. That's a big problem for us here because this is a live stream. We got to do it together. It looks like it's working. That's tremendous news. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about the conspiracy against Trump. This has been ongoing for quite some time. We've covered it here. We've been following the bouncing ball, all the 4 prosecutions taking place all across America, and now we have one group called America First Legal who is taking it to the courts. And they've uncovered a bunch of stuff here, including the fact that the Biden prosecutor who came over from the DOJ, the number 3 for Joe Biden, left the DOJ, came back over to New York and reignited the Trump prosecution. And turns out that guy, Colangelo, was also making big fat donos in the amount of $500 or so to Alvin Bragg. So it's just a big, gross relationship. All these guys are communicating with each other. The DOJ came out and said, no, they weren't talking with each other. You guys are just making up dangerous conspiracy theories. But it turns out it's true. There's a lot going on here. And America First Legal says, all right, enough of this already. We're filing an FEC complaint challenging Alvin Bragg and the collusion between his office and Joe Biden's office. And so we'll go inside and see what they have. They've got some good details for us, and we'll unpack what they have uncovered and filed against Bragg. We also have this clip from Maxine Waters, and this will kind of be a theme today. But they all love this lawfare. They're very excited about prosecuting their political opponents. But if you even dare talk about retribution or revenge or anything of the justice system working against their entities, well, then it's the end of American democracy. Yes, we get it. So we'll talk about Bragg and see what's going on there. Very convenient for Bragg to just get the number 3 at the DOJ. Wow, what a shock. So we'll talk about that lawsuit. Then we got a new appeal from Steve Bannon. He is set to report to jail next month. They have filed an emergency application for an appeal in the D.C. Circuit Court, and we don't know what judges are assigned to that yet, but we're not optimistic about it. But they're asking for an immediate response on this. It's a nice appeal. Remember, Bannon was prosecuted and convicted in a very short trial for not showing up for a subpoena that was issued by the illegally constituted J6 committee, which was improper under their own House resolution, H.R. 503. So Bannon is appealing this. We'll see what's inside. A big fat appeal, 30 plus pages that we'll go through. And then we'll hear from Joy Reid, who for some reason put on her screen that there are a multitude of Trump prosecutions taking place, not only against Trump, but all of his other people. And she's like thrilled about this because to her, it's evidence the justice system is working. But Bannon is not even perturbed at all. He was on with Tucker Carlson. We got one clip from them, and it's a good one. He's saying, I'm not afraid of this. They're never going to break me, okay? I'm going to come out of that prison cell stronger than ever, just like the Jedi Knights come back. When you strike me down, I'll become even stronger, wherever that comes from. So Bannon is on with Tucker. We'll see what he says, and it's a good, nice, inspirational clip on an otherwise ridiculous case. And then, fresh out of the oven, Merrick Garland held in contempt. And this one is literally fresh out of the oven, like 20, 30 minutes ago. Congress made it official. This is the one from earlier in the day, but there's a new one out. Garland in contempt. And Benny Johnson clipped this one. 216 to 207 is the vote. And it's a pretty big deal. We'll see if he holds himself in contempt or charges himself for not complying with a court order, or a congressional order. But guess what? No, he's not. They've already done a memo for themselves. So the DOJ says, we've investigated ourselves. We've decided, we've heard your complaint. You want us to be prosecuted, but gosh, you know what? We just looked into it. We can't do it. What do you mean you can't do it? You're the prosecutors. You can prosecute whatever you want. Yeah, but not this one. Well, why not? It's our policy. Yeah, but you make the policies. Well, even I'm not above the policy. You know where that one came from, Seinfeld. This one, Elise Stefanik was also speaking out about this. Jim Jordan was speaking out about this. And Comer was speaking out about that one. So we'll talk about Garland's contempt, and we'll get the latest because this one is just fresh and breaking. So we'll see what is happening. CNN has some live updates and all that. We'll let that mature up a bit and then come back to that. But as you can see, we got 3 good segments today, and we're excited that you are here and joining us. Before we jump into any of that stuff, we probably should talk about this bird flu situation again, because look at this story from CNN. This one dropped yesterday. Says bird flu is rampant in animals. Oh, gosh. Humans ignore it at our own peril. Yeah? Just like that bat market in Wuhan? Oh, gosh. So here's what they say. It says, as the co-founder of Wild Instincts Animal Rescue, they spent a weekend in sweating in gloves trying to help all these animals, but the animals are not doing well. They're coming across pretty quickly, and influenza can make mutations. This is the big concern. If it's in all of the animals, all you need is that little genetic flip, and suddenly it's infecting all the humans. That's us, not good. But we don't want to get caught unprepared like some of us were last time. It could happen any day, any minute. That's why we've got to be prepared. And to do that, we've got our friends at the Wellness Company. Now, the Wellness Company has a prescription contagion emergency kit. I've got mine right here, as you can see, and it's packed with good stuff. The only kit of its kind with a prescription emergency materials inside, stuff to prepare you for bird flu, COVID, whatever comes across. We don't really know what it'll be, but Z-Paks, Tamiflu, budesonide, nebulizers, all of it is inside. And you get a guidebook so that you know how to use it safely. It's backed by research from people like Dr. Peter McCullough. You know who he is. And every American should have at least one of these kits at home. Super easy to get, really quick and easy. twc.health/Robert. Links are in the description below. When you go there, you'll save 10% off your order. You'll get free shipping, and it comes quickly. It's very simple to do it. So check it out. twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert when you check out. These kits are only made in and available in the USA, So get prepared. Better to be prepared than not. So thanks for checking them out. Links in the description. And thanks for supporting the sponsors of our show, The Wellness Company. All right. Now, without any further ado, let's get into business on the day. Alvin Bragg facing an uphill battle now that Congress is looking at him. They want him to come testify, but that's not it. He's also got another complaint filed his way from America First Legal, saying that Bragg colluded with Joe Biden, which we know is obviously true because Matthew Colangelo came over there. He was the DOJ third in command under Joe Biden. So what's happening here? Well, this report comes from America First Legal, and they actually filed a complaint against Bragg, and we're looking forward to seeing where this one goes, because here's what they report. FEC problem. Sorry. Remember, Trump was getting hit all over the place. This was a conspiracy to get him to get elected in 2020. And 2016, the NDA with Stormy Daniels and all that nonsense. They called it a conspiracy. It was one of some various object crimes. We still don't know which one it was, but it could have been an FEC violation, or it could have been a state election violation, or it could have been a tax crime. But so here they're saying, oh, Alvin Bragg, you committed that exact crime that you're alleging that Trump committed. So evidence reveals that Bragg has committed a political prosecution with the sole intent of helping Joe. Here's some background on this before we read through the filing. In December of 2022, remember that Bragg reportedly hired Colangelo, the Biden prosecutor. He came over for some reason. Apparently, this was, Bragg said, because he has a history of taking on Donald Trump and his family business. Remember this one? Colangelo had already done this when he was working at Tish's office. So he went from Obama to Tish to Biden to Bragg. So he joins because he's got this experience. He left his post as the number 3 in the DOJ, a move that reeks of partisanship. Why would you get a demotion? Why are you going to go work for Alvin Bragg? All right. You're number 3 at the DOJ, the biggest justice system in the department in the entire world. You're number 3 for the United States of America. And you're going to go work for Alvin Bragg now. Okay, some peon line prosecutor? Give me a break. So here's what Gene Hamilton said on Matthew Colangelo. Nobody leaves being the number 3 at the DOJ to go work at the DA's office. Nobody, period. No one does that. It's something completely out of the ordinary, which is obviously true. There's Colangelo
been a
standing
misdemeanor
back there.
into a felony, saying that it was, it was conducted with the intent to commit another crime, and that other crime was a conspiracy to get him elected in 2016. What do you think about this?
Ridiculous.
Look, those are all legitimate points. Those are all really critical issues that are going to be the focus, I think, for some appeals that come in the near future from President Trump. But let's talk about all these underlying circumstances. Let's talk about Matthew Colangelo. You're exactly right. Nobody leaves being the number 3 at the Department of Justice to go work in a district attorney's office.
There he is.
Period. No one does that. That's not normal. It's something completely out of the ordinary. Let's talk about the judge. Let's talk about the fact that he's a donor, of course, to President Biden. His daughter is beneficiary of a lot of Democratic support.
Works for Joe.
We are looking at a situation here in the United States that we only used to see in what we would call banana republics.
Yeah. No,
and yet it is
country.
happening in front of our very eyes in the United States.
All right, that is our country now. So this gentleman is named Gene Hamilton. He's the vice president and general counsel for America First Legal, who is behind this complaint against Bragg that we're going to read here in a minute. But it's so weird, this shift from number 3 to Bragg's number 2. Oh, I like that one. Yeah, Matthew Colangelo became Biden's number 3. He left from being Biden's number 3 to Bragg's number 2. Oh, gross. He sued the DOJ last week to obtain Colangelo's government records discussing President Trump before leaving his post. So we're going to read through that complaint here in a minute. And beyond his position at the DOJ, Colangelo also previously held a senior position for Tish, where he was Tish's number 2. Both of these entities had competing investigations related to President Trump. And notably, before joining the Biden DOJ, Colangelo contributed several times to Alvin Bragg. Look at that. In 2019, $500 as an individual. $500 for Colangelo. Another $250 from Colangelo. All going to Alvin Bragg. And Bragg was running against Trump. He was running to stop Trump. That was part of his campaign, just like Tish was. It was a whole era of stopping Trump. Got it. So the available information indicates that Bragg's hush money prosecution was coordinated, was made in cooperation or consultation with Biden. Now, effectively, Bragg acted in cooperation, consultation, and in concert with Biden to influence this year's election. And without denying the existence of the communications between Biden and the Bragg office, Merrick Garland refused during congressional hearings to commit to turning over the communications. And they did just send a letter recently saying, we checked our email. We didn't find anything suspicious. And so you guys just shut your mouths, okay? It's dangerous. Stop accusing us of doing something bad. So, of course, Garland didn't answer anything. The overall records in these matters that include Colangelo's jumpstarting of the case was dead. Bragg decided not to prosecute it. That's why Mark Pomerantz and Kerry Dunn resigned. Then Colangelo came back over and boof, case comes back alive. Garland's refusal to disclose the communications in Biden's campaign and press events immediately after the trial indicate that the hush money prosecution was made to harm Trump would not have been made if Trump were not a candidate. Now, because the information and available information supports a conclusion that this was political, if the prosecution is political, then guess what? It's an in-kind contribution, just like they said that the Cohen situation was with Trump and he falsified business records. So it's an in-kind contribution. Alvin Bragg is committing millions of dollars in anti-Trump political opposition lawfare, and he's only allowed to give $3,300. Instead, he's contributing much more against Trump in the tune of millions of dollars. The outlined information includes the fact that they violated their disclosure obligations. And because Bragg was in a coordinated expenditure, the Biden campaign had to report it as a receipt, and they didn't. And so we're filing a complaint with the Federal Election Committee, and here's what it looks like. So our friends at America First Legal, doing amazing work out there, submit this one. Dear Alvin Bragg, we have a complaint against you that's now going to the FEC. We hope you enjoy it. America First Legal brings this complaint before the FEC. We want an investigation right now. We want enforcement against Bragg and Biden because they violated the FEC. Now, Biden, the incumbent candidate in 2024, he looked to Lawfare to destroy Trump because he's got no other policies. And he made the following statement regarding Trump's prospect in November of 2023, probably. Fix that there for you guys. Got that covered for you. It says, if he does run, I'm making sure he, under the legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again. Let's fix this one. I guess it's probably, it looks like footnote has a correction for us, 2022. Got that for you, gentlemen. My pleasure. In coordination with Biden and his campaign, New York County District Attorney Bragg resurrected this so-called hush money case, this zombie case, as part of that lawfare strategy against Trump, under a legal theory that Trump had previously sent, his predecessor had previously sent back into the grave, yes, out of concerns the felony charges would not hold up in court. Colangelo comes back, joins, and the case is resurrected. Politico article back from April this year. Now, by pursuing this politically motivated prosecution against Trump, Bragg made an excessive contribution to Joe Biden. Illegal contributions. And Biden accepted this. And they probably falsified business records. And so Biden violated U.S. Code, that section, by failing to provide the required disclosures. Now they say, let's tell you a little bit more about us, AFL, America First Legal. Awesome organization. They have a mission, which is to promote the rule of law, due process, equal protection, protect individual rights, uphold the Constitution. And in furtherance of its mission, they hold accountable our unethical, illegal, disgusting government officials. How do they do that? Well, they gather information and they file complaints. That's what they're doing here today. And we rely on you, the FEC, to properly administer this act so you can hear our complaints and act appropriately. Now, let me tell you about the people here. We've got Alvin Bragg. We got Biden for president. We know who he is. But here are the facts of the case, FEC. To influence the 2024 election, Biden and his allies have pursued lawfare to physically remove Trump from the campaign trail, keep him bogged down in a freezing courtroom, drain his resources, millions of dollars. And it doesn't, that the defense money comes out of campaign funds, comes out of Trump's pocket, comes out of our resources. And the lawfare is paid also by us. So Bragg is funded by federal government money, New York money, same with Tish and Fannie. They're all funded by the public. So it doesn't come out of Biden's pocket. So Trump's getting hit on both sides of this thing. And it's harming his reputation. Now he's a convicted felon and potentially disqualifying from the ballot. Now, regarding Trump's prospects in 2024, 2022 probably, Biden stated, if he does run, I'm making sure under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, he does not become the next president again. What the heck does that mean? As New York County DA, Bragg contributed to this strategy by resurrecting this hush money zombie case. Now, there was a legal theory that his predecessor, Cy Vance, had previously sent back into the grave. The case concerned federal subject matter identical to what the feds investigated and declined to prosecute in 2018. And Bragg's prosecution also relied heavily on Michael Cohen, a felon convicted of lying to Congress with a demonstrable animus towards Trump, who also admitted that he stole from Trump in the middle of the trial and lied again to the federal judge when he took his plea deal. In February 2022, two prosecutors leading the case, we know them as Mark Pomerantz and Kerry Dunn, they resigned because Bragg, quote, had doubts about moving forward. They wrote about it in his book. Pomerantz threw a hissy fit. But even Pomerantz acknowledged that the charges would rely on untested legal theories. Did he put that in his book too? That was in an article. So by virtue of holding office, Bragg's most dangerous power is that he will pick people he thinks he should get, and they'll prosecute because they're biased. Now, New York professional rules say you're not supposed to do that. Prosecutors have professional conduct to follow. Everything needs to be supported by probable cause, but that's not what happened here. Bragg resurrected this dead case. Now he's relying on untested legal theories. And during his campaign, when he was even running for this office, he reminded voters frequently that in his former job, he sued Trump more than 100 times. Are you kidding me? I went after Trump all the time because he used to work for Tish. Or I think he was a lower level at the DA for Bragg, for Cy Vance. But Bragg would not have prosecuted Trump but for Trump's candidacy. They made their whole careers on Trump. Tisch and Bragg, their whole basis for being in their position of power is because of Trump. Bragg's commitment to getting Trump gained him the support of senior Biden political operatives. One day after Bragg announced his primary campaign against his predecessor, Bragg received a contribution from Chirag Baines. And Chirag Baines would later become the deputy assistant to Biden. Oh, so Biden deputy assistants are donating to Bragg. Isn't that fun? On June 29th, Bragg also got a contribution from Adam Hickey, who would later serve as a senior official in Biden's DOJ. Oh, so more Biden acolytes all funding Bragg. Now, his commitment to getting Trump also gained him the support of George Soros, which we talked about, in Color of Change. Now, on May, the PAC for Color of Change endorsed Bragg. Then Soros gave them $1 million, and about half that went over to Bragg. Between 2019 and 2021, Soros' son, Jonathan Soros, and his wife, Jennifer, made 5 separate contributions to Bragg's campaign. Yeah, so that's also a curious thing. Everyone looks up the Soros money, but you got to look at the Soros family. A lot of money comes from them, and nobody looks up them. In December, New York District Attorney 2022 Alvin Bragg reportedly hired Colangelo to, quote, jumpstart the investigation of Trump because Colangelo has a history of taking on the Trump family business. Colangelo also sent in a bunch of money to Bragg 3 times. He served as senior positions in the DOJ and the New York AG's office, which was Tisch's office. So worked for Biden and Tisch, both who hate Trump. And at the Biden DOJ, he served as the politically appointed acting AG, the number 3. Despite this link, AG Merrick Garland has refused to give us his communications. And this is updated. Garland has now said, we've looked, we checked, we don't have any communications at all. Sorry, we don't have anything to give you, and stop accusing us of being monsters. On April 4th, 2023, Bragg then indicted Trump. And then the Biden Victory Fund, a joint funding representative for Biden for president, got another $250,000, $250,000 from Soros. Then $350,000, and then another $303,000. So about $1 million comes in to Biden. Now, on the final day of the trial, the Biden campaign held a press conference. They dragged out that Robert De Niro guy. Oh, that guy across the street from the courtroom. Moments after the jury verdict, the Biden campaign posted the statement. They said, in New York today, we saw that no one's above the law, convicted felon or not. Trump will be the Republican nominee. The threat that Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. Got it. So Alex Soros now, who is the heir to Daddy's committee that spent $32 million, stated that Democrats, so Soros, his other son, went up there. And he said Democrats should refer to Trump as a convicted felon at every opportunity. And we played that tweet here because this is their new label. It's their new moniker. They have nothing else positive to talk about because mostly they just destroy things. They just hate success. They hate other people who have better, happier lives than them. So they just tear everything down, which is what we're witnessing in this country. So repetition is the key to a successful message, they say. We want people to wrestle with the notion of hiring a felon. Now, on the same day, Color of Change also issued a statement saying Bragg's prosecution of Trump was a fruit of our labor. So Color of Change is very happy. They're like, oh, perfect. To obtain the verdict, Bragg's office contorted the law, however. And among other things, they violated the Supreme Court doctrine known as primary jurisdiction doctrine, which says that a court should stay or dismiss a claim when it implicates issues within the special competence of a federal administrative agency, which would have been the FEC. Now, the commission failed to find a reason to believe that Trump violated the act, and he didn't get charged with it when the feds did some analysis on this. But they don't care. They're going to use it against him. Bragg's prosecution has literally physically removed Trump from the campaign trail. It's drained his resources. It's harmed his reputation, and it's disqualified him from the ballot in certain jurisdictions, potentially. So all of that is election interference. It's federally funded, government-funded election interference happening right now. So under the act, they say they're going to give us some analysis here, and we'll fast forward through a lot of this, but they tell us what are in-kind contributions. All right, well, they said that the NDA for Trump and Stormy was all in-kind, campaign conspiracy, contributions, and so on and so forth. Well, what about this? What about prosecuting your entire opponent? The available information says that Bragg's hush money prosecution was coordinated with Biden. It was made in cooperation or at the request or the suggestion of Biden. He made that announcement in 2022. Now, the FEC Office of the General Counsel has consistently recommended the commission find reason to believe that acts by a third party to influence an election result in a contribution. If you're helping somebody, that counts. So the available information also includes strong circumstantial indications that these two, Bragg and Biden, coordinated together. Bragg reportedly hired Colangelo right out of the DOJ, and he admitted that he hired him to jumpstart his office's investigation. Footnote 50 from this article. From the New York Times. New York Times reports that Bragg wanted to jumpstart his office's case, so he took Biden's number 3. Alvin Bragg made him his number 2. Now, despite that link between the Biden DOJ and Bragg's office, Merrick Garland refused to give us information about this. And on the final day of trial, Biden sent his campaign out there. Moments before the verdict, the campaign posted a statement: no one's above the law except Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Now, in analyzing whether this ultimately is a contribution or an expenditure, we got to ask ourselves about whether it was had a purpose of influencing an election. Obviously, this does. They say other advisory opinions give us some guidance on this, but the commission has already previously found that an activity by or in connection with a federal candidate, including things like this, could impact a federal election. And with respect to Bragg and Trump, however, the inescapable inference here is that Bragg acted in cooperation with Biden, and they did it to interfere with 2024. Now, the overall record in these matters, including Colangelo's, quote, jumpstarting of the case, Garland's refusal to disclose communications, Biden's press event, and statement immediately after the trial, demonstrates that the purpose of this prosecution was to harm Trump. Would not have been brought except for Trump running for president. Because the available information supports this conclusion, we think this was a coordinated expenditure. In fact, it was. And this expenditure is over the $3,300 you're allowed in any election. So Bragg should be charged. Now, the available information indicates that Biden violated his disclosures as well, failed to provide the required contribution information. This clearly was a coordinated expenditure between these two, and we have no idea how much it cost, what kind it was, and so on. And so the Act and the Commission regulations prohibit this. And so as detailed above, we think that there was an excessive contribution violation that happened here, and the Act prohibits that. So these various counts, in conclusion, we ask now that the FEC conduct an investigation. We want you to declare that Bragg and Biden violated the FECA and the FEC regulations and order Biden to correct these violations by filing public reports identifying the coordinated expenditures, and we want sanctions as well. We want to take further action as may be appropriate, including referring this matter to the DOJ for criminal prosecution. Respectfully submitted by America First Legal Foundation, doing amazing work. Shout out to our friends Julie Z H, Reid R, Daniel Z, Julia, and Michael D, all over from America First Legal, sending this one in response to the lawfare and the criminality and the violation of election law that Bragg and Biden have engaged in. But some people are very happy about this. They love people like Alvin Bragg. They love Tish James. They love Fani Willis because, well, they're taking out their political opponents. Here's what Maxine Waters said, clipped over here from our friend Charlie Kirk. She posted this one when she was talking about these weaponized cases all across. They're using all of these prosecutors to get in there and be a part of whatever they call the American democratic process, which means electing American Democrats. That's all that means. So interesting filing from America First Legal. We are grateful that they're out there digging into this, filing lawsuits. You know where to support them on X and elsewhere. And so we'll be here continuing to cover this. We'll see what Bragg says, what his responses are as this coverage continues. Thank you, my friends, for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this and hitting that like button real quickly. We'd appreciate that as well. We've got another great segment coming up where we're going to be talking about Steve Bannon and his emergency appeal. That's in our next segment. You're going to see that right over there, and we'll see you over there in the next one. All right, my friends. Now, we carry on with an appeal, and this one comes from Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon files an emergency appeal. He's scheduled to report to prison because he didn't comply with Liz Cheney's illegal subpoena. And so the courts have decided in D.C. that he deserves to go to jail. Now, his attorneys have submitted an appeal to the D.C. Circuit. We know the D.C. Circuit is just a horrendous mess, and we don't know what judges he's going to get assigned. They could be Obama judges, Biden judges, so it might be a long shot. The question on all of this is timing, as well as the actual legitimacy of the appeal and the final outcome. Timing, because he's got just a few weeks until he's scheduled to report into prison. Now, Joy Reid, who's a lunatic, said that this is great news. All of the political prosecutions in this country show that the justice system is working, but I think they've bitten off more than they can chew. Steve Bannon was on with Tucker Carlson. He says, I'm not afraid of this garbage at all. I served my country in the Navy. I'll serve my country sitting in prison as a political prisoner. They will never break me. So stick around till the end of this segment. We're going to have Steve Bannon fire us up here in a second. But let's jump into the appeal to see what's happening and gauge whether this is going to go anywhere in D.C. We're in a terrible jurisdiction, the District of Columbia Circuit Court of Appeals. We know this is United States of America versus Steve Bannon, and this is his emergency motion for release pending appeal. So we're coming up from the lower level D.C. Circuit Court, and which is the federal court. He went to trial. He lost. He's been out of custody. He's been sentenced already, but now the judge has said you got to go into custody. He's pending. He wants to appeal this case and stay out of custody while the case is pending the appeal. But the court has said, sorry, you got to go back in. So now he is appealing the order mandating that he go into custody. So this is the filing from his defense team. And let's see what is inside, because it articulates what a ridiculous joke this entire prosecution is. And this is the filing, Steve Bannon's emergency order seeking to stay out of custody pending further appeal through the D.C. Circuit. They write this. All right, Steve Bannon is now here. He seeks release pending further appeal of the convictions in this case, which were contempt of Congress for not showing up for a subpoena that came out from Liz Cheney's J6 committee, which was illegally constituted. H.R. 503 said we should have had 13 members on the body, 8 Democrats, 5 Republicans. It didn't happen that way. We had 7 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and they weren't even appointed, those 2 Republicans, in consultation with the minority leader. Nancy Pelosi just picked 2 Republicans, Cheney and Kinzinger, and shoved them on there. So they violated their own rules. The entire subpoena is unlawful, in my opinion. But they say, all right, listen, we need a ruling from you, Court of Appeals, by June 18th, because he's got to go to prison in July to allow sufficient time to go to the Supreme Court if necessary. We're going to leapfrog you and just go right up to SCOTUS. Now they say, all right, look, this is ridiculous, okay? This is a landmark case. The prosecution here pushed a novel and an aggressive theory of liability, and this case garnered international attention. We covered it here. We read through the transcripts at the trial long time ago. Now, if the panel decision stands, there will be a far-reaching consequence, including the separation of power concerns. Before the prosecution of Bannon, it had been 50 years since the government convinced a jury to convict someone for not responding to a congressional subpoena adequately enough. And there has certainly been no shortage of disputes over congressional subpoenas. A lot of them. Now, Bannon intends to vigorously pursue his remaining appeals. And he's got experienced Supreme Court counsel. We're going to be going to SCOTUS if we need to. Now, in the meantime, he asks this court to allow him to remain on release. He satisfies all the requirements under the rule. There's no dispute that he's not likely to flee. He's not going to put anybody in danger. He's already been out on release for years now without any incident at all while this whole case was pending. And his crime was nonviolent. Nor is there any claim that his continued pursuit of appeals for the purpose of delay. So, again, this is lawfare. They want Bannon to be out of the political arena on the air for the next 4 months so that he can't rally people to get out and vote for Trump. And the judge just, I've been a clock's ticking. I'm kind of tired now. Really convenient. So he goes in July, gets out what, November? Funny how that works. Accordingly, Mr. Bannon quote, shall, they're referencing the law, be released if a case raises a substantial question of law, or if it will result in a reversal or a shorter sentence. Critically, this is not the same standard for a stay. Mr. Bannon is not required to show he's likely to succeed. All we have to show is there's a close question of law here. It's a much lower standard. We've shown it. So this case raises at least two substantial questions that satisfy this standard. The first involves the definition of mens rea. Did Mr. Bannon willfully ignore a congressional subpoena? Or was he following advice of counsel? He faced what the court has described as a new novel scenario. Congress was pursuing documents and testimony from a former executive branch official, so he had executive privilege, by the way, and yet counsel for the former president himself, Trump's lawyer, required Bannon to protect executive privilege. So Trump invoked, no, he can't, sorry, no, it's executive, I'm the president. He worked for me. We have very broad executive privilege. He's protected. So Mr. Bannon followed the advice of counsel, and he requested that the committee resolve the privilege issue with the holder of the privilege, take it up with Trump. But the district court reluctantly concluded that this other case barred Bannon. So the DC Circuit said, oh, sorry, Bannon, we hate your argument. So you can't present any evidence about your actual state of mind during the trial, what you actually thought. He could not even inform the jury about what actually happened, that he relied on good faith on his lawyer's advice, couldn't mention it, couldn't testify to that he believed his actions were in compliance with the law. Even though this allowed the government to argue with impunity to the jury that he ignored the subpoena and that he thumbed his nose at the select committee, which was illegal. So the court affirmed that decision, but did so based on its belief that Licavoli bound the panel to hold that, quote, willfully means only intentionally. So they just, oh, willfully, does that mean like there's different standards. Okay, did you knowingly do something? Did you act recklessly? Was it intentionally? Was it unintentionally? Many other words that you can use to articulate a person's state of mind. But the advice of counsel is no defense, says the judge, so you can't talk that up. Now, this issue presents a substantial question, okay, because Licavoli, the case that the DC Circuit was relying on, and their interpretation is in tension with the Supreme Court. And it doesn't even make any sense when you look at the construction of the statutes. As the panel acknowledged, SCOTUS has now held that the general rule is that willfully means, so what does willfully mean? It means knowledge that his conduct was unlawful. So you knew it was illegal and you did it anyways. That's not what Bannon did. Bannon said, I don't think it's illegal at all. Trump has executive privilege. I'm following the law and I'm following my advice of my lawyer. But the panel felt compelled to disregard the SCOTUS. But the Supreme Court will not do that. So we're just going to go up to SCOTUS when it's time. Now, further, Licavoli relied on the fact that SCOTUS had rejected the advice of counsel argument, but it was under a different provision. And that different provision does not even have the word willfully in it. So why are they relying on that to say that it doesn't apply? SCOTUS has a different interpretation. In fact, under their current approach to the construction of the statutes, Congress's use of two different mens rea thresholds in the very same provision is showing that there are different tests. Otherwise, willfully would be superfluous. Like the word's in there for a reason. So SCOTUS has recognized that two distinct offenses, they're disjunctive, and only one of them is willfulness an element. So to summarize, they say, SCOTUS has a general rule about the meaning of the word willfully, and this court is interpreting it wrong. Although that does not require Bannon to make a showing that the SCOTUS might actually accept this, they have taken an interest in this issue. They've accepted 19 cases over these problems, and so it's likely they're going to accept this one too. Now, this case raises substantial questions again for another reason. Number two, there is an acknowledged circuit split as well. What is the appropriate test for the rules? We don't know. Any issue on which the circuits disagree is a substantial question until SCOTUS clarifies. So if Mr. Bannon is denied release, he will be forced to serve his prison sentence before the Supreme Court even has a chance to consider this. And the court is going to go up on a summer recess soon too. So there is also no denying the political realities here. Bannon is a high-profile political commentator and a campaign strategist. He was prosecuted by Biden, whose policies are a frequent target of Bannon's statements. The government seeks to imprison Bannon for the 4-month period leading up to the November election when millions of Americans look to him for information on important campaign issues. This would also effectively bar Bannon from serving as a meaningful advisor in the ongoing national campaign. That's the whole point. The court should grant release pending conclusion of Bannon's appeals. He's also going to SCOTUS. Now, prosecutions, they say, for these types of cases are exceedingly rare. Before Biden, the last time we prosecuted someone was 50 years ago. And that's just Bannon. 234 years, we've never prosecuted a president until Joe got here. Now, given this, one would assume that the government would pursue such charges only in the most extraordinary circumstances, when there's no questions that someone is clearly guilty. But the jury heard that the only explanation is that Bannon was above the law. That's what the prosecutor said, and that he had contempt for the committee. He couldn't even respond. In response to those direct accusations about his state of mind, Mr. Bannon was barred from presenting evidence or arguing that there was no willful violation. Bannon, the court, they said, would be unable to respond until, he said, I can't respond until we settle this executive privilege stuff. But when facing the dispute, Bannon relied on his attorney. Trump invoked, but Bannon couldn't even present that evidence to the jury. The judge said no. They said that he was willfully violating the law, but they couldn't present any evidence to the contrary. Now, although the court previously rejected Bannon's arguments, the panel's opinion demonstrates why this is a substantial question and why you should accept this case. Say, we think that the Supreme Court is going to disagree with you, by the way, on this executive privilege stuff. This was no routine case of someone disregarding a subpoena. This was a big deal. Charges under 192 are virtually unheard of in modern times. It's Biden administration for you. And the panel itself claimed there was no precedent to guide how Mr. Bannon should have handled this subpoena. When the president, right, it's not like Bannon is the person, I'm not showing up. Trump invoked. So the dispute is novel. It's never happened before. The district court, the court relied on Licavoli to reject Bannon's mens rea arguments, but there are good reasons why SCOTUS would reject all of that. First, willfully means knowledge that his conduct was unlawful. SCOTUS has already said that, but the panel disregarded that. Now, the Supreme Court is allowed to stick to its general rule and overrule you guys. And the Supreme Court is also going to say that your textual analysis of this rule is pretty terrible. The panel acknowledged that they do not use the term willfully appropriately. And they say there should be a higher standard. But Licavoli reached the exact opposite conclusion that they came to. So they'll be reversed on that reason as well. And third, SCOTUS has twice addressed willfully before, and both of their other decisions favor Bannon. And so they're picking standards that serve their interest, and they're doing that in contravention to Supreme Court precedent. So a panel of this court concluded that Licavoli binds us, and so they said, sorry, Bannon. But the court should reject their other concerns. Bannon relied in good faith on his attorney, and that should have been presented to the jury as a defense, but he was not allowed to do that. But practical concerns are also unpersuasive. There's no practical problem with allowing him to raise an advice of counsel defense. And the DOJ recently instructed its own attorneys to refuse to respond to congressional subpoenas about Hunter. So the DOJ regularly refuses subpoenas. It can hardly be idiosyncratic approach if the DOJ is doing it itself. So why aren't they prosecuting themselves? The panel's concerns also undermines the rarity of these prosecutions. Don't act like there's going to be a deluge of subpoena cases, like everyone's going to be violating subpoenas now. Is Trump going to be invoking on behalf of all of them? I don't think so. And they say SCOTUS is pretty interested in this case. There's good reason to believe that SCOTUS is going to review the mens rea here because it is a substantial question of law, so get ready for it. The court's interest is likely spurred by the concern that this section was used for political purposes. They used this section back during the Un-American Activities Acts in the 1950s and 60s, so now they're using it again. Examples of this Lots of times Congress has allegedly disregarded subpoenas. EPA Administrator Ann Gorsuch, Eric Holder ignored him, Will Barr, Harriet Miers. In future, a White House of the opposite political party could simply bide its time and then indict these people, who will be barred from arguing a good faith defense. For example, the House currently has issued subpoenas about Hunter and recordings of Biden in the Hur report. And under this court's current case law, a future administration will face no meaningful barrier to indicting everyone, right? Welcome to the new America. If this is it. They are indicting everyone who declines to turn over the records, including White House and DOJ attorneys. So given the Supreme Court's outsized interest, along with this insane new application of these rules, SCOTUS will accept this, they think. And Dr. Peter Navarro also asked SCOTUS to handle this. Now, Chief Justice Roberts took a highly unusual step of issuing an in-chambers decision, the first in many years issued by a justice, to explain that he was denying the request only because of procedural concerns. Wow. So maybe they will accept it. Now, if the underlying merits presented by Navarro were of no interest or substantiality, Roberts wouldn't have said that. And third, Supreme Court is granting cases where there is no unanimity on the underlying courts. And there was also a substantial question on that test as well. Bannon's mens rea arguments satisfy any of these tests. But the point is, if that he were in the Ninth Circuit, there would be no doubt in the Ninth Circuit that he would be released pending further appeal. The disagreements between the circuits makes it a debatable and therefore a substantial question. And so as we get to the close of this appeal, they say, here are some other considerations that support an appeal here. If Mr. Bannon is not granted release pending further appeal, he would likely be forced to serve his sentence before the Supreme Court even considers this. So SCOTUS could come out and say that was illegal, but he's already served his time, because his sentence would run during the summer and the fall of 2024, which is probably why they timed it that way. Now, this court should also be mindful of the government's own conduct when it comes to congressional subpoenas. Congress recently issued subpoenas to the DOJ for Hunter, but the DOJ instructed its tax division lawyers to refuse. Judge Reyes sharply criticized the DOJ for their hypocrisy. He said, there's a person in jail right now because you all brought a criminal lawsuit against him because he did not appear for a House subpoena. And now you guys are flouting those subpoenas and you don't have to show up? Jail for thee, but not for me, is hardly an acceptable position for the government. And at the very least, the DOJ's decision to ignore congressional subpoenas demonstrates both the significance of the mens rea, the guilty mind issue, the knowingly or willfully issue, as a matter of law, and the illogic of preventing Bannon from even arguing to the jury that his reliance on his advice of counsel undermined the government's case for willingness. They say there's also a strong public interest in Bannon remaining free. During the run-up to the 2024 presidential election, the government seeks to imprison him for the 4-month period immediately preceding the November election, giving an appearance that the government is trying to prevent Bannon from fully assisting with the campaign and speaking out on important issues, and also ensuring the government exacts its pound of flesh before the possible end of the Biden administration. Now, no one can dispute that Bannon remains a significant figure. He is a top advisor to the President Trump campaign, and millions of Americans look to him for information on matters important to the ongoing presidential campaign. Yet from prison, Mr. Bannon's ability to participate in the campaign and to comment on important matters of policy would be drastically curtailed, if not eliminated. There is no reason to force that outcome in a case that has and presents substantial legal issues. And so this court should grant the motion in order that Mr. Bannon be released pending the conclusion of his appeals, including to the Supreme Court. Very nice filing from Trent McCotter, counsel of record from Boyd and Gray out there in Washington, counsel for Steve Bannon. So this is going to the D.C. Circuit. We'll see what they do, and the clock is ticking on this one. So Bannon may ultimately go into custody before we get some clarity on it. We would imagine that the Court of Appeals will respond before he has to go into custody, but what their ruling is yet to be seen. So we'll be here obviously continuing to cover it. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button where you're at. But Bannon's coming up. So it sounds kind of dreary. I think what is happening is these people are biting off way more than they can chew. They're doing victory laps and they're very celebratory, but it's all going to backfire on them bigly. Here's Joy Behar over on The View, not even understanding the own idiocy of putting up on the screen all the people that her party has targeted and then call that a resounding success.
These are all of the people in the Trump orbit who have been, who basically ended up in prison. These are all of them.
That's not even all.
You got Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, George Papadopoulos, Roger Stone,
They're
Rick
all
Gates,
thrilled.
and Alan Weisselberg. They've all gone to prison. So when you feel bad about the system and you think, gee, we're going to get stuck with the system is working.
Yeah.
These are all.
The Democrat system is working. They're very excited about taking out their political opponents, and they put them up on the screen and say, good, we got them. Good, we should expand that. Now, Bannon hits this on the head, hits this nail on the head, says, don't worry about me. They will never break me. Bannon went over, hung out with Tucker Carlson, and says, don't worry, America. I'm ready to serve as a political prisoner. And when I come out, I'll be stronger than ever.
This illegitimate regime is trying to persecute not just President Trump. They're going to send him to prison on July 11th. They may defer that, but they're going to give him a prison sentence, as they've given Rudy Giuliani, either bankruptcy or deplatforming or taking your law license away or putting people in prison. That's what they're doing. And we have to stand up to it. That's why I would never give them, you know, you see McCabe on TV wetting himself every night about, oh, when these people get back in power, they're going to come after us. You're damn right we're going to come after you within the rule of law.
Legally.
Because that's how we'll bequeath a constitutional republic to our children and grandchildren. But no, I don't bat an eye. It's impossible. They will never break me, ever. And I quite frankly will be just as proud to serve my nation as a political prisoner in a federal prison for a misdemeanor by Nancy Pelosi as I was to serve my nation on that destroyer.
Right on, Steve Bannon, American hero out there facing lawfare head on, not even perturbed about it, willing to be a political prisoner so that we can have a constitutional republic that survives, that we can hand off to our kids. Thanks, Steve. We're going to be here to support you, my man. We appreciate that. We're going to continue to cover this appeal and hope that there is some sort of justice that comes. Maybe SCOTUS will step in. We'll be here to continue to cover it, my friends. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking this video. Thanks for sharing it with someone you know or love so they can see what they're doing to our friends out there as our coverage continues. We've got a great segment coming up. If you enjoyed this video, we're going to go talk about how Merrick Garland just got held in contempt. That video is coming up next. We'll see you over there on the next one. All right, now, my friends, let's jump right into it and let's see what is happening with Merrick Garland, because he just got found and held in contempt. Merrick Garland held in contempt by Congress. Is he going to show up and respond to the congressional demands? There was a subpoena that went out for the Robert Hur tapes, and he's not giving them over to them. So now contempt is appropriate. And they just dropped that out today. We had the final vote. Here's what it sounded like. Our friend Benny Johnson clipped this one for us. 216 to 207. Here's what it sounded like. This is the official contempt of Congress vote. And there was an earlier one in the day, a procedural vote to move this forward. Here's what it looked like as the final votes came in. 215 to 207 with a minute, 12 seconds left. The clock is expiring. It looks like the Republicans are up pretty dramatically, 216 to 207. Very, very productive day from the Republicans. And wow, we don't see that a whole lot. So pretty interesting. Now, what does this mean?
All members voted. Does any member wish to change their vote?
We'll find out. Because Garland is already saying, I can't be prosecuted. We'll see what the memo says.
On this vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 207. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Garland held in contempt for refusing to comply with congressional subpoenas. Is he going to be prosecuted? Is he going to refer himself for criminal prosecution for violating a subpoena? let's see what CNN has. They vote to hold him in contempt. They held him in contempt over the Robert Hur tapes. After the vote, we have Garland who came out. He said it was deeply disappointing that this House of Representatives has turned a serious congressional authority into a partisan weapon. All right, let's see what he says. Did he actually come out and speak on this? Garland defends himself. I wonder if there's any video of that, or if he just released a statement, because he's been held in contempt. Now, today's vote disregards the constitutional separation of powers. The Justice Department needs to protect its investigations and the substantial amount of information we have provided to the committees. We want the audio. Where's the audio? Democratic lawmakers say Republicans don't have a legitimate legislative purpose for the recordings. Got it. So that's the story. Now, Garland, obviously not happy about this and reacting poorly. But we had some other reaction from people like the House Judiciary. They said, breaking, the House of Representatives holds him in contempt for failing to turn over the audio tapes of Robert Hur's interview of President Biden. And Comer was out with a statement, fresh. He says, House Republicans rightfully held AG Garland accountable today for his failure to comply with lawful subpoenas. Congress cannot serve as a necessary check on the presidency if the executive branch is free to defy duly authorized legal subpoenas. Says he's defied us. His failure to comply with our lawful subpoenas from oversight and judiciary, his refusal to provide the audio, begs the question, what is the Biden administration trying to hide? Their decision to keep the audio recordings behind lock and key establishes a clear pattern of obstruction by his DOJ. This is unacceptable, and the House of Representatives is now in a better position to deliver the transparency and accountability that the American people demand and deserve. And so we got some other clips from earlier in the day from when they were speaking about this, but I wanted to go through this article because this is what the media is saying already. That Garland cannot be prosecuted for contempt. Bannon got prosecuted. Navarro got prosecuted. Why not Merrick Garland? And by the way, who wrote this memo? Where did this memo come from? Oh, the DOJ wrote it. Wait a minute. The DOJ wrote a memo saying you can't prosecute the DOJ? Okay. Should we believe that? So an internal DOJ memo argued that Merrick Garland would be protected from prosecution. Why? It's a 57-pager. It was obtained by The Hill. It lays out the case for Garland's refusal. They say he already has a transcript. The OLC, which operates as a legal advisor, wrote that no administration official has been prosecuted for failing to comply with a subpoena when the president has claimed executive privilege. What? What are you talking about? Navarro and Bannon. Who did this research? For nearly 7 decades and across presidential administrations of both parties, the executive branch has taken the position that the criminal contempt of Congress statute does not apply to executive branch officials who do not comply with a congressional subpoena based on a presidential assertion of executive privilege. That's insane. Bannon is literally going to prison for that. Consistent with this long-standing position, no U.S. attorney has pursued criminal contempt charges against an maybe because he's not an active executive official. The memo then lays out in detail the response that Congress is likely to get from Justice Department if it chooses to recommend contempt against Garland, which they did. Republicans have fumed over the fact that he's not turning over the audio because it's a cover-up. The audio recording, they say, will not reveal any information relevant to your committee's needs. And that's not already available in the transcripts. And so he's resisting even the transcripts because Joe Biden is so gone. So the DOJ is affirming that they are not prosecutable, which is just perfect for a totally corrupt entity and institution. Here was Jim Jordan earlier in the day explaining why this is so important and why Garland and the DOJ need to be brought to heel.
Last September, the Speaker of the House announced that the House of Representatives would be entering an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight work. On December 13th, the full House of Representatives voted to do just that, to formalize that. This is a power that is exclusively resides in the House of Representatives, and one of the most important powers that we have as an institution and as a body. Robert Hur, on page 1 of his special counsel report, said Joe Biden knowingly kept classified information, Joe Biden knowingly disclosed classified information, and he disclosed that information to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. Page 231, he told us why Joe Biden did those things. He said Joe Biden had strong motivations for ignoring classified procedures because he was writing a book for which he got paid $8 million. So we have motive, an $8 million motive. We have the elements of the crime, knowingly keeping, knowingly disclosing, giving that information to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. We have all that, and yet the special counsel said he would not recommend charges for President Biden. We think we're entitled to, we know we're entitled to all the evidence, and that includes the best evidence, which is this audio tape. That's why we sent the subpoena. The Attorney General is being clear he's not going to give that information to us. So that's why we have the contempt resolution. We assume this is going to wind up in court, but we think our case is strong and we think that we will prevail. But step one is to pass the resolution holding the Attorney General in contempt for not giving the House of Representatives, the body who's in an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight responsibilities, not giving us the best evidence. Finally, I would just say this. We think the privilege has already been waived. We think when they gave us the transcript, they've waived the privilege. And understand that there have already been times where the transcript that we've received from the White House doesn't match up with what was actually said by the President of the United States. And so, again, for all those reasons, we think we need this information, and that's why the resolution will be on the floor today.
And it was, and it passed. So Jim Jordan and the Republicans got that done today. We had some other comments just so we can see what happened before we got the vote. Elise Stefanik was out. I think she's still on the short list for VP. She was also speaking out on this topic today. Here's what she said.
House Republicans are honored to host at our special political conference President Donald J. Trump, where we will discuss how Republicans will work together to save America from Joe Biden.
Trump's coming to visit Congress tomorrow.
And far-left Democrats' failed leadership that has caused skyrocketing and painful Biden inflation, the historic Biden border crisis, surging violent crime, a weakened national security, and chaos around the world. This week on the floor, House Republicans are delivering on our promise to hold the Biden administration accountable when we bring to the floor our resolution to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with our subpoena and release the audio recordings of Joe Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur. It's time for Merrick Garland to stop stonewalling and release the Biden tapes. Additionally, we will bring to the floor the National Defense Bill for FY25. And as a senior member of the House Armed Services Committee, I'm proud to have helped craft this legislation, securing critical wins for my home district.
All right, great. So she's securing more pork for her district, great. And let's also listen to Comer and to see what Comer has to say. So Trump will be there in Washington tomorrow. That should be pretty curious. Comer was out speaking, and this is what he said on the floor before the resolution passed. Here's Comer.
Gentleman from Ohio, for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the resolution. This is not a complicated matter. The Oversight and Judiciary Committees issued duly authorized legal subpoenas to Attorney General Garland for a certain set of documents, including the audio recordings of Special Counsel Hur's interview with President Biden. The Attorney General has refused to produce these audio recordings. Unlike what my Democratic colleagues keep claiming, this is not just Republicans who need these recordings for their oversight duties. Media outlets, including the AP, CBS, CNN, NBC, and the Washington Post, among others, have filed suit to get these same audio recordings
where's the
as well.
media been? Don't they want to hear
Because the media, like everyone else, knows there's no substitute for a recording of an interview. Not a transcript, not a summary, not the Attorney General's judgment that Congress doesn't need it. The Oversight Committee's investigation of these classified documents has already revealed that the White House's official timeline of events regarding these classified materials left out very important details. For instance, White House employees were entering the Penn Biden Center and moving documents months before the discovery of the classified materials by President Biden's personal attorneys in November 2022. One of those employees was former White House counsel Dana Remus. We issued a subpoena for Mrs. Remus's deposition, but the White House has blocked Mrs. Remus from speaking to the Oversight Committee. The White House has also blocked other White House employees who visited the Penn Biden Center before November 2022 from speaking to us.
To clear out the records.
What is the Biden administration trying to hide?
Evidence
Attorney
of
General Merrick
criminality?
Garland's refusal to produce this evidence establishes a clear pattern of obstruction by the DOJ to cover up President Biden's wrongdoing. President Biden has lied to the American people about his mishandling of classified documents. He has repeatedly denied not knowing about or being involved in his family's influence peddling schemes, which the Oversight Committee can now show has raked in $18 million from foreign individuals and entities for the Biden family members, including President Biden himself. He also met with nearly all his family's foreign associates. President Biden's Department of Justice appears to be taking every step to insulate him from the consequences, whether it's hiding these audio recordings or attempting to give Hunter Biden a sweetheart plea deal to shield Joe Biden from facing accountability for his role in his family's influence peddling schemes. This is unacceptable. The House of Representatives cannot serve as a necessary check on the presidency if the executive branch is free to ignore the House's subpoenas. I urge my colleagues to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress, and I yield back.
And they did that. They did that. So shout out to the Republicans today, to Comer, to Jordan, to Stefanik, and to Johnson. They got it done. They held him in contempt, and it passed by a pretty large margin. It wasn't even really close. So good news that there's accountability on this. And I think what it does is it illustrates the double standard. Now we have a situation where we're asking, wait a minute, Bannon's going to prison. Navarro's is already in prison for contempt. And there's a distinction here as well, because Jim Jordan and the Republicans, they passed this with the entire House. That was the entire vote. It was the entire House of Representatives voting on that. What we got from Bannon were ridiculous subpoenas that were coming out of an illegally constituted J6 subcommittee. It was a panel. It wasn't the full Congress. So Bannon and Navarro were also responding to a less powerful, in my opinion, subpoena. This is the entire House, not a J6 subpoena. So Garland is now not going to prosecute himself. The double standard is just going to stink, and it's going to be smeared all over him because it exists. And now Congress is going to say, you're held in contempt. Are you going to give us the audio? They're going to do everything in their human power to avoid getting that audio released, because it would be devastating because our president can't talk. So, my friends, we're going to be here continuing to cover this. Hopefully you join us as we do. Would love it, love it, love it if you subscribed, and really would love it even more if you liked this video and shared it with a friend or family member so that they could see what the heck is going on. They need to know about this stuff, and the only person who can educate them and bring them aboard is you, my friend. So thanks for sharing the video. Thanks for joining us on the next video that we have queued up for you. If you like this one, you're going to love this one as soon as it comes up. I can't wait to see you over there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. A little bit of a shorter show today, kind of a light news day, but tomorrow should be a little bit more busy. Trump will be in DC, so that should be fun. But we covered 3 good segments. Garland contempt has... we got to change this title. Garland held in contempt now. See, I wrote this earlier this morning. Garland held in contempt. Steve Bannon files an emergency appeal in D.C. It was a good one, but we'll see what the D.C. Circuit does because it's the D.C. Circuit. And Alvin Bragg sued for colluding with Biden to get Trump. Another good one from America First Legal. 3 good segments today, my friends. I appreciate you joining us. I hope your week is unfolding very beautifully. Now it's time to hear from you. And as always, thank you so much for the donos, the super chats, the friendship, the conversation, and the fun. We got Tony Hay Munkets, our first dono in the house from Hey, it's the Munkets, bringing in 5 new membos. What's up, Tony Hay? Bear Babaloo coming in. We got Jason A., Summer Walkabout, and 2001's Dirty Secret My Awakening got gifted a membo. And Life Matters also got gifted one. Good to see you, Tony Hay. Thanks for bringing in our new membos. Rob over on Rumble says, Bannon will be like Neo from the Matrix. That's exactly right. When he stopped the bullets out of the air. Bannon's going to walk out of prison. Liz Cheney's going to start throwing indictments at him like this, like Frisbees. Indictments. Here's another one. And Bannon's going to look at her and say, no. And they're all going to stop. And Liz Cheney's going to go, huh? And then Bannon's going to dive into her forehead and burst out. And well, but then Liz, that could be a problem because Liz Cheney will come back and she'll be multiple Agent Smiths, just like in the sequels. All right, we got a long road ahead. All right, anyways, he breathed in and out, and everything around him expanded and contracted. Such a cool movie. Agents will look at Bannon and split. They'll just start running away. So Colangelo and Tish will just start running away. Hey, what's up? Sergeant GPS says, I saw this is trending from Scott Pressler on X. I think it's a great idea to spread the message. Vote for Trump, no taxes on tips. That's a pretty interesting one. Yeah, so you just write, hey, vote for Trump, no taxes on your tips. And give him a nice tip, too. Always tip your servers well. It's hard work out there. Good idea from Sergeant GPS in the house. Thank you, Sergeant. Glocky shared this one. Puerto Rico won't play around, and those machines will end up on streets on fire, unlike conservatives, whose governors will still allow the primary use of them. Talking about Dominion over there. It says Dominion machines under scrutiny after hundreds of discrepancies found and detected in a primary. Oh, that's weird. Oh, weird. The most safe and secure election of all time. Glocky says, I mean, we armed ISIS, we armed drug cartels, Saddam and Iran, so why not arm the Nazis now? Washington clears the Azov Brigade. Yeah, I guess they're funding Nazis too. Chubby Stubby says, as if New York didn't already have enough number 2 everywhere, here came Colangelo. Yeah, Bragg wanted a big number 2, so he took number 3 from Joe. Magoose says, I got my report on the Biden laptop yesterday. Oh yeah, from our boy MarcoPoloUSA.org, Garrett Ziegler. Have you gotten your copy yet? You should. MarcoPoloUSA.org. You're gonna open it up and want to desanitize your entire life afterwards. But that's the president's son. I feel dirty just from skimming through it quickly. Takes a lot to make me blush. Called my grandfather to warn him too, since I sent him one too. Your poor granddad. He's going to be like, my granddaughter sent me something so nice. Sent me something so nice and beautiful. She really cares for me. He opens it up. He's going to see Hunter's dingling in there with a pound of meth and go, what? My goose, what have you become? No, Dad, it's Hunter. It's Hunter. Oh, Hunter. Okay, so hopefully, it's a good thing you warned him because that could have been bad. Rob is here. Says taxpayer money used to fund the Trump-Russia collusion, $34 million investigation ultimately started by HRC Hillary. FEC fined Hillary $8,000. She should have paid back the $51 million based on inflation and a higher fine. Yeah, well, Hillary used campaign money to create that dossier, the Steele dossier, and pay all those lawyers off. Nothing happened to her. No criminal charges for her. She just paid a fine. Not a big deal. Hey, what's up? We got 5 membos, and this is from Bodie. Tony Hey Munkets, you rock. And this is Bodie, the puppy, who's given us the 5 membos, and Geegum Geegum with that beautiful meme. Thank you for the 5 membos. Tony Hey Munkets bringing in 5 more. Ray H. Chaco's here. We got Marius B. Tam Tam joining us, and Steve O. All gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hey Munkets. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you. Cowboy Rob says, well, as Representative Waters said, we need to be in there. So they need to pass a law making all court cases on camera. So that would mean all Trump's cases would be televised. Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be good if we could see what's actually happening in our country. But they don't want that at all. Engeron wanted nothing. He didn't even want the cameras on him when he was playing footsie with his GF. Same thing with Mercon. They don't want us to see it. Roy MC says, it's interesting what's happening in the Young Thug trial concerning Fannie prosecutor as a witness and the judge. Ashley Merchant is at it again, ripping the judge a new one. Yeah, I'm very interested in that one. We might actually, it kind of depends on how slow the news is or whatever, but I'm kind of itching to get into that one because what's happening to that defense team is insane. And we love our defense attorneys here. They're our boys and girls, you know. So what's up? Lady Ice says, you know what really chaps my donkey? The way the media is portraying Hunter right now. Even if you try to search for a quick meme or GIF, I literally entered Hunter Biden, Parmesan cheese, and crackhead. Look what I get. This is why I make my own. Yeah, they're in total cover-up mode for the dude. And he's out. We talked about this on our locals this morning for our members-only stream. But Hunter is legitimately doing the born-again Christian thing. He had a spiritual advisor on CNN. So he's talking about how his faith is going to prevail or something. What? Knox says, happy Wednesday, all. We really need to start asking who is actually running the White House. I think it's got to be Obama, right? The Obamas that power structure. I don't know if it's actually the Obamas, but it's that power structure, I would guess. What's up? Hey, it's the Munkets. 5 more membos from Tony. Bringing in CF Martin. We got Chuck H, Outlaw Monsters person. Eric H is coming in, and Victor R, all gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony Hay, for bringing in new membos. We got Sheila P, membo for 4 months, almost halfway to a baby. Thank you, Sheila, for being a membo for 4 months and always being here, always being so generous. We're grateful to have you here. Adore my Watching the Watchers family. We adore you back, Sheila. Glad to have you. Thanks for the comment. Hey, Gustav, a year N1 from Gustav. He says, it's the Clintons' old crew doing it. It's called subversion. Yeah, I'm sure there's some Clinton influence as well. I don't doubt that for a minute. We got this old guy says, we don't know yet when sentencing is scheduled for Hunter. Yeah, I'm for one hoping that the sentencing date is after the Democratic convention, because that's when they have to commit to Biden as their candidate. Biden, which is, when is that? I think it's in August. I don't know if it'll be that far out. Is it in August or is it in July? Biden can't leave office without pardoning Hunter, and can't pardon Hunter if he steps down. There was a lot going on right now that we need to be very, very aware of timing-wise. Yeah, that is curious. So I think Biden could just announce, like maybe he doesn't step down, but he just announces he's not going to run again. Could he do that? I don't know. If he announces he's not going to run again, I don't think people would have confidence that he could even finish out the term. So let's say he has a bad debate and there's a call for him to go. Does he just say, all right, look, I'm not going to run again and I'm going to endorse somebody else? Could that ever happen? I don't know. They're running out of time. But if he could do that, then he could delay a pardon decision until after the election. Or he could just make a sweetheart deal with Kamala and she'll pardon Hunter after the election. So anyways, good comment, this old guy. Fun to game that out. Hey, Crisis at the Border is here. Says, I live in Jupiter. I'm going to the birthday party for Trump in West Palm Beach, where he will be speaking on Friday. Woohoo! That's awesome. Have fun. Happy birthday to President Trump. And there was also some other weird lady on CNN who was telling Democrats they should have birthday parties for Trump. We also talked about that on Locals today this morning, too. It was a good one. Hey, Nevada Legion. What's up, Nevada Legion? Over on Rumble says, Rob, can you explain how Hallie Biden hasn't been indicted for basically stealing a crackhead's firearm and discarding it within 1,000 feet of school? Yeah, probably because she was a friendly witness to the government. So they didn't charge her because they needed her to convict Hunter. If you charge them both, then they both just shut up. And then you wouldn't be able to use Hallie against Hunter. Because if she also had a criminal charge against her, then she would have just admitted to a bunch of stuff. So when you have 2 co-defendants, they do this a lot. They do this with husband and wife too, and other couples. If you got 2 of them, and what they'll sometimes do is they'll charge them both with crimes, and then they'll go and they'll tell one of them, we'll give you a smoking deal, but you have to testify against the other person. But Hallie, I don't think that, she's recovered, and I think that Hunter was probably the worst of the 2. So they just picked him, and she was basically doing stuff on behalf of him. She was trying to help him. So I don't know. I don't think that she should have been indicted, but I understand the question. In a regular court of law, in a regular justice system. But since they're the Bidens and we're playing lawfare now, it's sort of like, well, maybe just indict the whole family. What do I care? Sheila, what's up? 10 membos. Little Paws in the house. Danny L's coming in. Thank you, Sheila. Tara E, Nana B, Silent Rage, Andrew C's coming in. Johnny Boy's here. Villainy F, Hillary L, and Derek M. All gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila P. Thank you, Sheila, for 10 new membos coming in. Hey, what's up, Membo for 1 month? This is Christian P. Says, whatever happened with, quote, no one is above the law? Oh, well, that doesn't apply to Democrats. Yeah. It's confusing because you think when they say no one, you think that applies to everybody, but it doesn't. It only means like Trump. Everyone else is above the law. Garland is, Biden is, Hunter is, James is, whatever. They're all. It's a great question. Thanks for being a Membo for 1 month. First month's the hardest. We got this one from John McGarvey. And it's clipping for us. Chubby says, Democrats, no one's above the law. Also, Democrats, you can't prosecute Garland. Oh, so he is above the law. Got it. Hey, this one from Cowboy Rob says, Mr. Jordan's forgetting one simple fact. Joe Biden never had a legal right to have the said documents. He literally stole them out of a skiff. Yeah, he was the vice president or a senator. So when he's a senator, yeah, definitely. Vice president's a little bit of a closer call. Probably, because I think you could argue that the Presidential Records Act maybe applies to the VP, maybe. But you're right. Yeah, he was, I think, a senator when he took those documents. So clearly illegal. NY says, the DOJ is behaving as the fourth branch of government. It remains unaccountable to the people. It's time its power is reorganized. Hear, hear, NY. Hosid, what's up? Says, I'm proud to be a Kentucky resident. Shout out to our friends in Kentucky. I have never been there, but I'm interested in it. What's up? This one came in from Milo Phone Bill. From a quote from Teddy Roosevelt says, no man is above the law and no man is below it, nor do we ask any man's permission when we ask him to obey it. Ooh, that's a good one. Rob says, Bragg and others ran a campaign to get Trump. So even if they weren't colluding with Biden, they used U.S. tax dollars to get Trump, which contributed to Biden's campaign. Here's one from Lady Ice. Says, I'm finally home. Miss this so much. Spent the last 3 weeks with my dad, but he is out of the hospital and getting better. But could use prayers he doesn't have cancer, having a PET scan done soon. I don't think it is, honestly. On the bright side, Carson May is officially past her actual due date last week. She had too many plans, so wanted out early on 302 and weighed 1.5 pounds, remember. She is now a real baby, weighs 6.5 pounds, and finally went home today. Look at this happy baby and an amazing family. Welcome back, Carson May, going home with mom and dad in the house. Thank you, Lady Ice, for sending that in. Beautiful baby, very happy, lovely family with the newest edition. Thanks for the update, Lady Ice. Glocky says, shout out to when a banana company had its own military. Chiquita Banana ordered to pay $38 million to the victims of the militia. 1R5 says, do criminal referrals to the DOJ expire? Well, yeah, I mean, if the statute of limitations expires, will current referrals still be active when the Trump administration takes over in January? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, oh, there was a crime committed. We better investigate. We don't want crimes happening in America. No one's above the law. So yeah, I think they should all be investigated. And thanks for the dono over on Rumble, 1R5. Now, yeah, if they're misdemeanor referrals, the statute of limitations might expire and those other things, but no, these are crimes happening like right now. So they should all still be ripe when Trump wins. Good to see you on R5. Salty Sarge says, Rob, if you can get leaves of a comfrey plant, it's great to draw out a bruise. Did Mama G catch you with your hand in the cookie jar? No, this was a little old, rolling around on the mats. Probably a nice knee in the bicep. But it's great advice and I appreciate it. But the problem is I'm probably going to go get a bunch more tonight. So just kind of deal with it. But Salty, thanks for looking out. I appreciate it. We got Michelle P. Hey, Rob, the Uvalde families have filed a suit against FedEx and UPS because they delivered an ordered gun used in a shooting to a gun store. Can these carriers be sued for this? Apparently they are being sued. I don't know if they'll be successful, but I don't think so. So there's a thing called common carrier liability, and there's common carrier liability protections to protect those things against these types of weird attacks. But no, I don't support that at all because they delivered and ordered a gun. Hopefully, peace to the Uvalde families, but if that characterization is accurate, hopefully they're not successful in that lawsuit. I don't know what FedEx and UPS are responsible for at all. Good to see you, Michelle. We got this one from Tony. Hey, I just noticed you have a bruise on your arm. How'd that happen? Yeah, jujitsu. Thank you, Kel, for that one. Getting back into it. Used to wrestle, did a lot of grappling in college, and then I was getting back into some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. No gi. I don't like the gi. So I go to no gi classes, but I was getting into it before COVID happened. Then COVID hit and the gym shut down. And went out of business actually. So I was able to now find the new one and we're getting back on the mats and it's great. Feels amazing. What's up? Dolphin fan is the man. Bringing in new membos. What's up? D Mathers is coming in. Good to see you, Dolphin fan is the man in the house. We got this one bringing in D Mathers, Beers and BS, Danny M, Feline Fun, and Mitch McSee in the house. All gifted membos, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man in the house. Hey, it's Zulu. What's up, Zulu? Good to see you, Zulu. Thanks for modding the fort down for us and inviting 10 new membos in. KCH is here. Travis P, Becky O, Artsy Chick, Stefan, Confessions of a Cookie Addict, Kimmy G, Evie, Mike M, and Not Gullible. All gifted membos, courtesy of our friend Zulu. Thank you, Zulu, for bringing them in. We got former LEO says, I want to put Ashley Merchant on a retainer so I can go commit crimes in Georgia. We've got another one from Spiral Game says, Ashley Merchant is repping Young Thug's attorney, Brian Steele, who was ordered to jail in Fulton for contempt. It looks like all the judges in Fulton are corrupt. Yeah, Fulton County is a total mess. Apparently, Ashley Merchant is just crushing over there. I'm sorry, Robert. I was informed it's a birthmark. I've never noticed it before. I thought you hurt yourself. It'll probably go away because it's a bruise. So it should go away pretty soon. Minnie Wheat says, I had a question, but I realized I already knew the answer. But I felt guilty for removing my dono, so here it is anyway. I absolutely love all you do and are watching the Watchers family. Thank you, Minnie Wheat. How funny is that? Well, that's very nice. I appreciate that. And happy their question was answered. Happy we got that answered. You already knew. I appreciate the dono. Thank you, Minnie Wheat. Love you back. Love our fam. Grateful to have you here. And I appreciate the dono. We got this one from Rosie Posey. Says, now this would be interesting. Says, do you want to see, from Laura Loomer, do you want to see President Trump read part of Ashley Biden's diary on stage at the first presidential debate? Especially the part about the showers with her dad when she was a child. Ugh, gross. Yeah, it's true. Cowboy Rob, has anyone ever been charged for a photo of being in possession of drugs? They could get Hunter on quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, photos are used all the time. So are you asking like photos alone? I don't think photos alone, because you need to have some sort of, you need to know what they are. Like if you have a photo of a white substance, you're like, well, I don't know what that is. So you got to have the drug and test it and all those things and confirm it is what it is. But yeah, and they did the testing on the gun pouch. There was cocaine on there. So it's got drugs on there. And he wasn't charged with a drug crime in this case. Like he wasn't charged with possession of drugs, but he was high on drugs when he filled out the form. Good question, Cowboy Rob. Says, and whatever happened to the courts having to say no? So if somebody was fit to stand trial, that's not a prosecuting attorney's decision. I think you're asking about Robert Hur. Maybe Robert Hur. He could have, I think Hur could have had the discretion to bring it, no doubt. And then let the jurors decide. Like, why did he make that decision? Why did he not let the jurors decide? What's up, Nana B? Membo for 5 months says the talk is the Dems are nominating California governor for president. From Nana B, 5 months as a membo. Do you think they want to do that right now? It feels like maybe there's so much momentum here that Newsom would be better served in 2028. Like Trump's going to win. Okay. Don't slot in there and basically be the fall guy for Joe. Newsom, sit out. I'm not going to go lose this one. Are you nuts? Joe Biden can lose it. Good riddance. Good luck to you guys. And then Newsom can come back in 2028 when Trump is termed out. NY says Congress has the power to enforce its own subpoenas. It hasn't been done in a very long time. There is precedent for the DOJ to ignore the referrals. If Trump wins, though, the referrals need to be followed through. So far, the ones that are above the law are Democrats in a Democrat administration. So good to see you, NY. Thanks for sending those in. And let's see. I think we had some others that came in yesterday that we may have missed. Thanks for flagging these for us, my friends. Let's see what these look like, if we can find them. Yeah, we did miss some yesterday. So Dolphin fan yesterday, what's up, Dolphin? Brought in these D Keys, iChurch Cafe, DCS, Austin L's coming in. Red is here. Doctor Who, Eric, Taylor N, Alicia, Audra D, and Tom S, all gifted membos, courtesy of Dolphin fan is the man. Those came in yesterday. Sorry we missed those, Dolphin. Cowboy Rob says, who of all the people in this Congress or administration would you most want Trump to go after when he gets in office? Pelosi, Biden, or who? Yeah, all of them. There's a long list there for sure. NY says, abstinence from alcohol is consistent with longevity. There are other ways to get antioxidant flavonoids. I don't drink. I need my brain. Says, Rob, I would need to take 2 days off to make it to Vegas. When is the last day I can sign up? Have to arrange for coverage. Friday, basically. We'll order some extra food. The reason I need a head count is for food. I just have to give them a head count so we have enough food. So I'm sure I'm going to order some extra food because I'm sure we'll have some last minute arrivals, and I'm planning on some people from the event are probably going to want to come. So I'm going to an event before, and so some other people will probably come too. But we want you to come. We want you to come. So come. Yeah, if you can come, make it. If you can sign up the last day, do it. What's up, iChurch Cafe as a new member in the house. Good to see you, iChurch. Oh, no, this is a dono from yesterday. And NY says, Arnica is an anti-inflammatory. Anti-inflammatory supplements are like turmeric, boswellia, and other things. And hey, Ike's girl from yesterday says, hey, Rob, I bet 5 years probation for Trump. 5 years probation for Trump. We got Pinochet's helicopter tours. Says no choice but to raid all of the DOJ across the country in 2025. We have to be sure to call it equitable punishment. Well, only the people who committed crimes. If they were part of a conspiracy against rights or election interference or anything, that would be appropriate because that's illegal in this country and we don't endure that. Hey, what's going on? We got this one from Knox Bierman. Says, I would love it if we could deep dive the Young Thug case. I was watching Lawyer Phil and gathered that the defense counsel found out about an ex parte meeting with the state and a sworn witness and judge jailed counsel because he wouldn't say how he found out about the unlawful ex parte. Yeah, we'll see if we can get to it, Knox. It's a good one for sure. A lot of interest in it. Rubo say, Rob, heads up, breaking news. Looks like the bond was granted. So, wow. So this is breaking news about that case. So where is this from? Is this from the Supreme Court? The bond was granted. All the justices concur except this person who's not participating. So I'm not sure what we're looking at there, but looks like maybe Brian Steele's getting out of custody. So I know there was an emergency appeal, and maybe that's what that is. Judgment, criminal emergency motion, the appeal. It's probably what that is. So that's great news. The judge is insane. It's like actually insane what's happening there. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Thank you to the Rubos for flagging that one for us. And my friends, great comments, great donos. Thanks for the breaking news and keeping us up to speed. Yeah, Rubos are confirming that's what that is. Amazing. Thank you, Rubos. Good to see you. We got this one over on the local, over on X. Let's see what's happening on X before we wrap it up and check out what's happening on the day. We got Fred Pedamonte says, Elise Stefanik is awesome. I think she'd be a great VP. James Pepper with some comments. What's up, Jim? Says, get some payback for this tonight. We'll work on it. I know. I'm still getting my feet back under me. I was like gassed like crazy last week. Okay, so hopefully we're a little bit better. Space Cowboy says, government-funded election interference is right. What's up, Salty Sarge? We got Alfred Newman. Raven Madness is over there. What's up, Bernie MT? Bernie MT says, the persecution of your political opponent is obvious. There's a big war going on. They're trying hard to distract us from their corruption, but unfortunately, it's opening up a lot of eyes. Shake says, ABC wants to take Trump's liquor license away as well. When will it stop? Probably never. Yeah, probably never. All right, some other good comments. Shout out to our friends on X. Really appreciate the comments and the follows over there. You know where to find us. We are heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party to hang out a bit. We had a couple final comments come in from Rob. He says, Mike Flynn, the DOJ director, and Roger Stone for the FBI director, they were abused by the DOJ and by the FBI. We got this one from Nokawakin. Says, who is the one of the 215 Republican House members who voted no for contempt for Garland? Good question. I don't remember his name, but it was somebody who said something like, I used to be a former prosecutor and so on and so forth and blah, blah, blah. So some loser Republican who is irrelevant. But good to see you, Nokawakin. And thanks for sending those amazing donos in, my friends. We are going to wrap it up there on the day. Johnny Boy says, whoever is going to the Vegas event, stay hydrated. It's going to be hot and dry out there. Very good advice. It's warming up for sure. And it's going to be June, like end of June. So come check it out. Watcherlodge.com. If you want to grab your tickets here, let me just pull that up briefly so that we can see what that looks like. and you can sign up for it if you want to come and join us. I have an email that I have to respond to Tiffany over there at the Trump Hotel, as a matter of fact. So if you want to join us, here's what it looks like. Go to watcherlodge.com, Watcher Community Meetup, Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. Click buy a ticket. It will take you right over to this buy page, and you can buy a ticket. And here is some more information on it. If you want to buy 2 tickets, like if you want to come with somebody, just copy and paste that link into a new thing. You can buy 2 tickets if it's you and someone else coming. But also, when you get over there on Watcher Lodge, and once you buy a ticket, you will then get access to the Meetup feed, the Meetup directory, and the Meetup private chat. And this is how we'll stay in contact as the event goes on. Also, fill out your profile. Make your, put your picture in there, put your business in there, put your what you're working on in there. There's a bunch of stuff. Put your links in there so that we can all connect. The goal is to also make connections offline in addition to online. And so come check it out. WatcherLodge.com. Carrie's coming. What's up? Clifford's going to be there. And we got Christine, Nick, Raphael. We got a bunch of people coming, man. It's going to be good. Can't wait. All right. So check it out. WatcherLodge.com. In 2 weeks, it's going to be amazing. Hopefully we see you there. We got this one from our friend Jim Kyle sending this one in. Says Ivan Ranklin for DOJ. And Flea Speech says, thank you, Bobby G. Lots of love from Denmark. Man, it's good to see you, Flea Speech from Denmark. Love to go visit there one day. Hey, Dashhound Lover, Membo for 5 months says, you're the best. Thank you, Dashhound. I think that about you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Dashhound, for saying that. And my friends, amazing donos. Thank you all so much for sending those in. We are going to wrap it up, go on over to locals for our members only after party, where we're going to hang out and debrief for a bit. Before we hang out over there, we want to thank all of our amazing mods and our meme smiths who mod down the fort for us and keep things nice and orderly around here. Our friends, K Bean, Just Cause in the house. We got Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zach Nichols, Janek, Dog Digger, Economy Pilot, Donut Mind Me, Carrie B, our friend Zulu, and our meme smith, Sleepy Dog Lee, Nathan N810, Geegum Geegum, Glocky McGlock, and our Dockmaster Elliot, helping to keep this show nice and tidy and orderly and beautified as well. But that, my friends, is going to be it for us on the day. It's a beautiful Wednesday, middle of the week. It's all downhill from here. And we are going to come back here tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.